So we'd be remiss if we didn't mention school board elections are this
Sure.
November, because obviously that's a large part of our work.
Yep.
So, I mean, you mentioned people running for office being a path, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what about the people who aren't going to run for office? What kind of things do you think that they should be looking for, like this November as school board elections approach?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, well, first know that the election is happening, right? So
Let's start there.
There is an election.
Yes.
For school board. It's happening. I think all the odd seats are up.
Yes, all the odd seats.
All the odd seats are up this November. Your school board controls more of your tax dollars than the city and the county.
Wow.
They have a $1.6 billion budget. And, obviously the fate of the entire city of Atlanta rides on their decisions, but it's it's the least watched election and probably the election that has a greater control over the destiny of the city than any other election, right? It's cool to vote for mayor, it's cool to vote for city council, your state rep and all that other stuff, but I'm like, man, these are little that to be cliche. I mean, like, you're voting on the future. And so one, know that it's happening. Two, I mean, find a way to get involved and get educated on who's running and what the issues are. Three, vote your values and that becomes really, really clear. To me, elections aren't necessarily about, the answer to the answer to the same question, right? Or two different answers to the same question. They're really about the question itself, right? Like, it's really about, like, are we focused on the right problem? I can tell you, like, for me, that the biggest challenge we face really in all public policy work is poverty, right? And so concentrated poverty doesn't work in housing, it doesn't work in education, it doesn't work in healthcare, it just doesn't work. And obviously it doesn't work for people. And so the question that I would be thinking about, like, is what is the school system going to be doing to help address parents in need, kids in need, mental health issues that are results of living in impoverished neighborhoods that are unrealized. And so, like, we got to keep the main thing and focus on the right problem. But if anybody out there believes that, somehow a magical superintendent or magical school board is going to come in and wave a magic wand without addressing, without having a plan or even discussing the issues of poverty, they don't know what they're talking about. And they just don't, right? Like, people talk about the equity gaps that exist in the city, or the equity gaps that exist in APS. Well, of course they do. There's too many kids going to school hungry. Yeah. And there's too many kids, we got an affordable housing crisis across the country. It's acute. In Atlanta, there's too many kids that lack access to stable, affordable housing. 1 + 1 is irrelevant if I don't know where my next meal is coming from, if I don't know if I'm gonna have a roof over my head. And so I like to say, like, those are the things that actually honestly matter most to our ability to educate kids faster, but they're probably least talked about in the school board election. Like, you'll hear a lot about, I want to bring this curriculum back. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's important. And I want to make sure all our kids know how to read. Cool. Who is against reading? Right? Like,
Nobody.
You know what I'm saying? Like, reading is good.
Yes.
Let's check that
Yes.
box, right? And then when you get into, like, unpacking what that gets there, you ultimately run up into the same problem ultimately, which I believe, again, like, we need to be at war with poverty. But and so those are the things I'd be looking for from candidates running from school board, just from my perspective. I mean, those are some of the questions I'd be asking, like, how are you going to address the issues of kids in impoverished neighborhoods? Because those are issues that bleed out across not just the district, but the entire city.
Totally,
And so
totally.
election is happening. Get involved, get engaged, and then find a way to work on a campaign, donate a campaign, show up at political events. I'm sure there'll be candidate forums and all of that stuff. So get educated and ask the right questions, and then hold people accountable.